In July 2011, the director of Your Name, Makoto Shinkai, visited Yuriage, which is in Miyagi Prefecture. A few months after the March 11 Tohoku earthquake, looking around the debris, he said, "This could have been my town. What if I were you, who lived here in Yuriage? And what if I were you?" These thoughts inspired him to write a story about a boy and girl who live in completely different parts of Japan, switching places at random times, both learning about each other's lives. He's written a similar story in the past before. The story theme of a boy and girl who have yet to meet appeared in a 2014 Z-Kai commercial, directed by Shinkai himself, titled Crossroad. The short animation features two characters, a girl who resides in the countryside and a boy residing in Tokyo. Both share the same dream, to get into a university in Tokyo. Despite having never met each other or knowing each other, they are both very similar, down to their small mistakes made on the test. In one of the first few scenes of the film, Mitsuha's teacher, who is Yukari Yukino from Shinkai's other film, Garden of Words, talks about Tasogare Doki, or Twilight, which originated from the word Tasogare, meaning who are you? This question actually appears in Mitsuha's notebook. Now let's look at the poem on the board. This is actually poem number 2240 from the poetry anthology book titled Manyoshu. It reads,
黄昏と我をなとひそ、長月の梅雨に濡れつつ、君待つ我を。
which translates to, "Do not ask me who I am, for I am the one who waits for you, drenched in the dew of September." This poem says a lot about the story of Your Name, particularly the relationship between the two main characters. In fact, September is the month the story begins. The dew is a symbolism for the speaker's longing and sadness after waiting for their lover for so long. Now let's return to the words that were mentioned earlier, Tasogare Doki and Tasokare. Tasogare Doki refers to the twilight. When people encounter each other during this time of day, it's too dark to make out each other's face. Therefore, people would ask, "Who are you?" Hence the etymology. This poem is actually played out in a later scene of the film, where Mitsuha finds Taki in Tokyo, but unfortunately, he doesn't recognize her. And another time during the climax of the film, where the two finally get to meet each other one last time within the twilight, before the epilogue of Your Name. In his 2019 film, Weathering With You, Shinkai turns to his childhood memories for inspiration. The director grew up in Komi in Nagano Prefecture, which is surrounded by the Southern Yatsugatake volcanic group in Mount Asama. Thanks to that, the flow of air was complex, and he grew up in a place with strong winds and plenty of rain. When asked why he chose the weather as a theme, he explained, "The weather exists all over Earth, and it's a theme that everyone can relate to. Many people bring up the subject of weather at least once a day and talk about it. The weather is a never-ending global phenomenon that forms in the distant sky, out of reach from a person's hand. It's able to affect our mood in the day. It's so big that it's out of our control, and yet it's connected to our state of mind," which is why I chose to have it as the main theme in this animation, as it's not just a story about a natural phenomenon. It's also a story about the weather that holds true for everyone, including the main characters, Hodaka and Hina. When Your Name was released in the summer, Shinkai recalled just how terrible the weather was, and how terribly real global warming has become. He felt that Japan would be experiencing more rain in the near future, so he decided to animate rain in a variety of ways. During production, whenever it began to rain, all the staff members went outside to look at the puddles and watch the raindrops fall from the sky from under the transparent vinyl umbrellas. Shinkai wanted the world to become more conscious about the weather moving forward. He feels that the younger generation shouldn't have to shoulder the problems that the older generation caused. We, as adults, are one part of the problem, as we created this world that it is today. The phenomenon of the weather is so big that individually, we can't help but feel fear and helplessness. However, I don't think the younger generation who walk this world should have to shoulder the sadness that we adults have created. I want them to live through a world that normalizes unpredictable weather and safely make it through to the other side. I wanted to convey my wish for them to live through such a world, like Hodaka and Hina. While the movie takes place in 2021 and released in 2019, Shinkai wanted the film to preserve the identity of Tokyo before the 2020 Olympics would change Japan forever. Weathering With You ends with Tokyo experiencing an endless rain, with the majority of the city covered by a giant body of water. This was Shinkai's way of depicting that change. While the Tokyo Olympics was postponed in 2020, the world did change. And to Shinkai, Weathering With You preserves his memories of the Japan he remembers. And that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed our content, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to keep your eyes out for YouTube shorts. Please have a great day and take care. Until next time.